Yo, we're
What
back.
up?
Well, here we are.
This is it.
This is it, baby. All right, ClarkBrothers Weston have back with y'all again. Oh, for another original
Original
plan.
plan. And this is the
That's what's
one
up.
y'all been waiting for.
Yes,
And we
sir.
about to drop it. We about to drop it today.
Yeah, we
And
appreciate
finally,
y'all's patience, man.
yep,
We had to get a few things together because, as you know, we are writers and filmmakers in this business. We do respect our colleagues that are in the business, and we wanted to make sure that the things we say to you today are things that are not going to interfere with any other colleagues that we may have in the business that may or may not
may
still work
not.
for the power
Universe.
universe.
And
So
just to
we just wanted to
give
make sure this
everybody
was on the
once
up and
again
up.
a back to original plan, what it's all about is you pretty much are going to get the script, the original one of the original scripts and one of the,
Drafts,
the,
yep.
the original plan. This is before it went to the cutting room floor. This is before
Or it
the
got filmed.
final decision. This
Yep.
was the very first um,
Draft.
idea or creative
Yep.
draft,
Yep.
right?
It was the
So,
first drafts. And this is what we talk about because we do have privy to certain drafts. We don't even have privy to all the drafts. But the
right,
point is, the whole point of us doing this for you guys is to kind of piece together what a lot of you already theorize and think might have happened, but
right,
it's still cloudy. It's not there. So we've done. Make sure you guys check out the other original plans that we've done in the past, and we'll have all of
right.
those posted in the description. And before we get into that, real quick, just want to very not going to give it too much time. Address some of these. We've seen some of the comments and groups and forums and even on YouTube and cats who want to I guess question us because whatever reason. I
Right.
mean, call us out for saying we don't know anything and
Call us clowns. Those clowns don't
yeah,
know anything. They're like,
right there.
how are we
It's like,
clowns for
well,
showing you guys exactly what happens behind
yeah,
the scenes? And it's and some of the ones, not all of them, because like I said, we have we're privy to much more information than a lot of people, right?
yep.
But um, you know, we're coming out with this original plan, some of it, and how does that make us clowns? For this one especially, for the ghost,
Mm,
this is
yep.
kind of like confirming
A lot of
what a
theories.
lot of the theories that we saw. And
Yep.
for us telling people about the original plan of when it happened, remember, I think a lot of people get it confused. We're saying, oh no, that didn't happen. They never called him that. You're not gonna see them call somebody, or let's just take Ronnie for instance. People saying, "Oh no, he was never going to be good," or else they would have said Breeze. No, it's called the original plan,
Yep. It's
not the
really fun.
final plan. Not that what it's. I don't understand what people don't get. Do you think that they only have one script? That they only have one draft? That they only have
No,
one ending? I mean, no. It's been everyone
multiple.
knows that multiple
Well,
shows, not
not
just
everybody
Power,
knows.
but not
Apparently, not
yeah, not only
everybody knows.
not probably not everybody, right? But
So let
you
us take this time to educate you. There's never, ever time is infinity, ever one script to a
never,
movie, to a series, to an episode of a series. Never one script. There
especially a TV series of multiple
that's
seasons.
exactly.
because
It's never
because you're writing as you go. A lot of them, you have the idea of what's going to take place in all your seasons, but you haven't
mhm.
written them out. A lot of times, a
Yeah.
lot of these, like Courtney Kemp and the writers, they didn't come and have 6 seasons. Here's 6 seasons worth of Power. Because they had to, get once they found out that they got another season in the work. Okay, now we're gonna write this season.
Right.
What have
They
you?
have the
So
stuff laid out in their what's called a series Bible. The series Bible will usually lay out the actual ideas for like 3 to 5 seasons for the first 3 to 5 seasons, but that changes as well. That's just to show a network that you have that this you got a plan. So with that being said, not giving them no more, but
yeah, we don't want
everybody
to
out
give too
there,
much time.
yeah,
They
everybody out
ready
there
for
that
this.
supports us, we appreciate y'all. Keep checking it out. So anyway,
You know,
get
yeah,
into it.
and just real quick before, if you ever got a question, you got ever question the Clark brothers, 30 years experience, just go to the
IMDb,
IMDb,
IMDb.
and to put our name in,
Yeah,
and then that should
that's it.
answer your question,
Answer questions
right?
right there.
So,
So
but anyway, we thank everybody for rocking with the original plan. For all y'all out there trying, just say y'all don't want to support, brother. That's Just say you
that's
don't want to
it.
support to keep it pushing.
Yeah, because we
Right?
see cats, and shout out to everybody who does power content, but we see cats who do power content that be just lying and making stuff
Yep.
up.
Lying
And
and
people,
coming with theories that make no sense. Timeline all screwed up and everything else. And y'all be rocking. I'm not saying y'all, but a lot of people be rocking with it.
it
I
is
mean,
what it
when it's
is.
like the theory don't even make no sense. But
Yeah.
anyway, let's get on with this, man. This is the original plan for Ghost.
For Go,
James
baby.
St. Patrick.
James St. Patrick, where it all started and where it all probably should have ended, but that's
Right.
where that's a whole nother story. So to kick it off, right, we'll say this original plan is be a little bit different from the rest of them because the rest of them we were kind of introducing a lot of things that people were may not have known. This one
Right.
we're doing a lot of confirmation because
Mm.
there are theories out there that the fans so cleverly were able to just theorize, and we're here to tell you that you were not far off. Some of you was right there, almost on the beam, but we're going to give you a little more context into
Right.
how it would have happened. So we'll start
And
with that
we,
being
we're gonna
said.
we're gonna break this down. We're not gonna keep you here too long, but we want to make sure we get everything out there. So,
Yeah.
without further ado, let's go.
So we're going to start with the ambulance theory, right? Because we talk about theories, right? There is an ambulance, we call it the ambulance theory, that has been out there for, a long time, ever since Ghost was killed off power. And
Hmm.
with the ambulance theory, talks about how Tommy, as you see in season 5 right here, Tommy, when he was spending time with Teresi and his girlfriend, Teresi asked the girlfriend, how do how can we have Tommy wash his money with a legitimate business? Because remember, they didn't no longer have
Right.
the laundry mats and stuff. So she gave him the idea of having an ambulance company. So
Right.
we saw in season 6, as you see here, there's Ghost. We see here in season 6 where you finally actually see the ambulance company. There's Tommy, there's 2-Bit and Spanky and all of them dressed as EMTs. This
Right.
is where they use that. That's the first time you saw the ambulance in any sort of action. They use
Hmm.
that ambulance to kidnap the Jimenez sister to take her to Jason, and Jason ends up killing her. So
Right.
that's part of that whole theory, right? So now moving along with that theory, there's Tommy and Ghost right there as they catch eyes. Ghost was not part of this whole deal with Tommy, but he
Hmm.
knows that Tommy had it because he's looking right at him right here in this
Right.
picture. So they caught eyes. Tommy tipped his hat, and Ghost, had did the same thing back. They kind of like, give a little nod to each other. So then you have later on, you fast forward a little bit. This ambulance, after they showed this, just kept popping up out of nowhere.
Yep.
right? And you'll see
And that
in
was
one of
on purpose. Just to let
that's
everybody
on
know
purpose.
that was on
Yeah,
purpose.
it's on purpose. You have to understand when you're doing a show, a movie, or anything else, nothing, and I repeat, nothing is by accident.
Oh,
Everything you're this is life, this is art imitating life. Now, here it is right here. James St. Patrick walking down the street of New York. Somebody look like somebody's observing him from there. But watch this right here, people. Just so you know, there's the ambulance. Goes
right,
swings by him. Now, why would they go ahead and show this? Once again, giving you some insight and backstory of how this business works. Nothing
right.
in this scene, everything in this scene costs money to make to do.
Hmm.
So if they had an ambulance in the scene, that wasn't just some ambulance riding down the streets of New York. They had to pay for that ambulance to be in that scene. Why
Right.
would they do that if it wasn't intentional? This is what
Hmm.
we call in the business foreshadowing. It's a
Right.
foreshadow of what was going to happen. And this is somewhere in season 6. And then it might have been that last episode too. As it goes along, you'll see that that ambulance shows up quite a bit throughout the show and the series. And I'm
Right.
bringing this over. I'm gonna land in a second so you guys understand what why I'm even talking about it. So once again, I just want to show you guys again is some video. Now here, they're showing, this is just people showing this when they were all coming to kill Ghost. Let me fast forward a little bit because the ambulance shows up again. So after Tariq kills Ghost and Tommy is stopped by Ghost right there, killing Tariq. Tariq gets out of there, goes out the back door, drops his clothes into the dumpster, and here we are again.
There's the ambulance
There it is again, an ambulance. All
passing
right,
right by Tariq.
right by Tariq, same ambulance. It seems like,
Yep.
because why would they use a different ambulance? That doesn't even make sense budget wise. So why are we bringing this up? Because these are the theories that a lot of you out there were theorizing. I literally
Yep.
got some of this footage from another person, big up to him, who put a video out about it.
Right.
Reason why we bring it up
And
is because this is all part of what they originally were trying to do with Ghost when they
right.
killed
So do we bring that up to say, as far as the ambulance theory that some of you had, you were absolutely
him. Absolutely
correct on
correct.
that.
Yes.
Because
Mm-hmm.
the original plan, when it
Yep.
came down to Ghost, right?
Mm-hmm.
The as far as the theory of him being killed of the show, because remember, there was alternate. Courtney Kemp said herself there
Yep.
was alternate endings for everyone for who killed Ghost
Yep.
to avoid leaks.
To avoid
Then there
leaks, they
was
shot everybody shooting Ghosts, and
right.
they didn't tell the cast
They didn't
which
tell the
one they were
cast.
gonna go with. This was
Right.
something that was done with previous shows like The Walking Dead, where they had a scene where a major character was getting killed off, and to avoid any of the cast members leaking it, they shot it where all of the characters got killed. So that way no one can leak who actually dies. So that's what Courtney Kemp did with this.
All right. And so to avoid the leaks, they did that. And the original plan was for this ambulance to play
Mhm.
a major part
Major part.
in Ghost in Power in this scene.
Right.
Why was the ambulance in a major part? Because in the original plan, let's go to the next thing. Let's go to the next thing.
Original plan about Ghost's death. So in the original plan, as we already saw, Ghost once he's there and Tommy finds him, they what happens is Tommy, who owns the ambulance company, calls for the ambulance to come and get Ghost because he wants to try to save him.
Right.
Okay. Also, at that point, Ramona is notified. She comes in. It's the original scene now. Just letting you guys know how it was originally written. It was
This how
supposed to
originally
be
was written.
Ramona coming up as Tommy is trying to, help Ghost keep him alive. Tommy calls the
Because
ambulance.
Ghost stays alive longer to
Yeah.
tell him about Ramona. Looking
Yep.
for Ramona. So
Yep.
remember, Ramona's waiting for him at a hotel.
Yep. Yep.
So Tommy calls Ramona. She thinks it's Ghost,
Yep.
and Tommy's telling her what happened.
Yep. Exactly. So with that whole thing happening, he's picked up by the ambulance, and then at that point, they fight to keep him alive. So the way it's supposed to go down was they obviously Ghost survives the he survives it. And just
Right.
just like a lot of people theorize, once again, a lot of the fans were right that Ghost did not survive. He was meant to Ghost did not die. He was meant to
It's meant to
survive
survive.
that whole ordeal. And
Deal.
we'll tell you
But
why
what?
they changed
Right.
it, you know.
Right. He was meant to survive, and that is how that is how he was supposed to survive. Um, Ramona was going to be there. Ramona was contacted.
Yeah.
Um, Tommy called for his ambulance service, who
Mm-hmm.
was nearby. The ambulance service came. He was able to. He was going to be able to get Ghost out of there unseen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then was going to take him to and get him by a doctor, get him
Mm-hmm.
nursed back to health, and then he was going to be. He asked him, "Where can we hide Ghost out?" Because remember, Tommy
Yep.
can't be around, right?
Yep.
So where can Ghost hang out at? At
Right.
Uncle Gabe's.
Uncle Gabe's house. So
Yep.
now, for people who don't remember, Uncle Gabe is the guy he was met earlier that season, a couple episodes prior, played by Glenn Turman, the
Yep.
legendary Glenn Turman. And Uncle Gabe was a guy who owned the bar that allegedly was owned by Ghost's father
Ghost
or
father.
something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
So with that, Uncle Gabe is involved, and he is where they hold up at. So Ramona is contacted. Then Ramona contacts Stephen Ott.
Right.
Okay. Because you wonder if, in case you're wondering, well, how did they fake his death? How were they supposed to fake his death? Well, Stephen Ott right here was in on it as well
Yeah, he was
originally.
supposed to be the only
He
guy
was supposed to be the
that they
only guy who
told.
knew that they told.
Yep.
Ramona didn't know where to, she wasn't sure which way to go with it, but she contacted Ott, and then it was Ott's idea to
Yep.
fake his death. It was Ott's idea
He
to
said,
fake Ghost's
just
death.
yeah, don't tell people that survived. And Stephen Ott, like I said, he wanted to make sure that none of this stuff came, because by the time he finds out about that, that would have been a mess. There was no
Yep.
way he won that election. That would have been a mess. They
It's
would
a
have
mess.
started
It's a
investigating.
big black eye on the
Yeah.
Democratic Party. So these are politicians we're dealing with. We already know how crooked politicians are in real life, as well as they were in the show of Power. So with Stephen Ott, so now we have Ramona, Ghost, Tommy, Uncle Gabe, and Stephen Ott. They're the
Yeah.
only people
Only ones.
that
Yeah.
knows they're the only ones that knows that Ghost survived what happened to him. And it was
So
Ott's idea to fake Ghost death. He pulled a lot of strings to make
mhm.
sure that all of that shit went through the way it was supposed to
Went
go
through.
through.
If you remember, that's why he was not so. Um, he didn't want to, he wanted to get this off of Ghost. He wanted to
Yep.
get his name cleared, and that's why he was so quick to say Tommy, because he knew Tommy was in on it. That's why he was
Yeah.
so quick to say Egan's in the wind. Like
Right.
no need, you can't pin
No
on
need to
him.
look for
Egan's in the
him.
wind,
He's in the
right?
wind. Let's not look for him. Let's pin it on who we got already. Since Tasha's already in jail, she's got to take the fall. They just wanted to pin it on somebody because at this point he knew, he's at a point where he knew Ghost, he knew James was dirty, and at the same
Yeah.
time, now with this whole thing going on, the dirt would have really came out. So
Right.
the only way to clean all this up from a political standpoint is to fake Ghost death. Let him,
Yeah.
whatever. And he was holding up at Uncle Gabe's crib with Ramona. He sent Uncle Gabe to the funeral for him to kind of
Right.
tie a bow on it, to check on Tariq, to give Tariq some words of comfort about
Mm-hmm.
his father. And that's why we saw Uncle Gabe again in season 1, episode 2 of book 2 Ghost.
Right.
Right? Why? And
Now.
another reason is, why do you think? Ask yourself this: Ramona was his love interest. Why wasn't she at his funeral?
Mm-hmm. What, you
Why?
don't think Ramona would show up at a funeral? They were planning on their life together. He was
Yep.
moving ahead with his life with Ramona. He had
Yep.
pretty much closed the door with Angela for
Yep.
Ramona, kind of got her blessing or what have you to go to
Yep.
Ramona. So then people are
Yep.
probably asking, well, why did so Ghost is, you mean Ghost is alive? No. What happened is, like I said, this is the original plan, and
Yeah.
what they're doing is, if you notice, to this day, they never showed Ghost's body. Why do you think they would do that? Especially hearing all the people saying, "Oh, that's saying all the times." Courtney kept said, "Ghost is dead. Ghost is dead." Well, why won't you show his body? Show his
Yeah.
feet. That's what they did with Angela. Show
Yep.
his feet, and you could have had it. You could have
Mhm.
had Michael Rainey go lay down in there and put his feet out there. Couldn't tell who feet it was, right? So
Yeah.
and just to think that, okay, so there's definitely somebody in there. They didn't show anybody ever in the casket. Ramona didn't show up to the funeral, right? So the
Yeah.
reason why they did it that way is because they were at this point negotiating. There was a
Yes.
fallout. There was an unexpected fallout,
All out.
right? With
Exactly.
Courtney
Courtney
Kemp.
Kemp and Amari Hardwick.
And my
They
God,
had
she wanted to actually get rid of him earlier,
earlier.
right?
And this is a story that is corroborated by 50 Cent. You can
50
look it
Cent.
up yourselves.
And you
You
can
know,
also get this story that we dropped 3 years ago.
yep.
3 years ago, we told you, and if you could check it, and the real reason that Amari Hartwick is off of power, go check our videos. I told you that story 3 years ago, and 50 Cent pretty much corroborated at the end of
Yep.
2024.
Yes, he did. So, and this is to give the more context to it all. So obviously, Courtney Kemp and Amari Hardwick had a falling out. 50 explained it. I will give you the Cliff Notes version. Basically, it goes deeper than even what 50 said.
Of course. What
But
I
how
said is
he
the
put
real story.
right is a real story. But how he puts it is, she gave Amari a note, and at this point, she wasn't directing the episode. I don't even think she may not even have wrote the episode. But even if she did write the episode, an executive producer is not supposed in this business. Executive producers don't give notes to actors. There's one person and one person only that's supposed to speak to the actors. That is the director. So if the director doesn't give you this note, the actor shouldn't take it really. So Hardwick kind of, being a thespian himself, he is a true actor, a theater actor and stuff like that. He took offense to Courtney Kemp giving him a note because he knows that there was some problems that occurred with them beforehand, and he thought she was being petty by giving him this note. So he
But
called her out on it. And
he
after he,
actually gave it to her because that's how entitled she felt. She
yeah,
felt very personal with Amari. So she
yeah,
felt stepping over boundaries because she felt as though I'm the creator. I hired
mm-hmm,
him.
mm-hmm,
And she felt as though he wasn't going to say nothing about it. He was just going to accept it. But then he
yeah,
he puts back on it, and then
yeah,
that
That was
among
it.
other things,
Yeah, among
threw
other things.
everything off. And she wanted him
Exactly.
out of there. According to 50 Cent, she hates Amari.
Yeah.
That 50 Cent said it. I didn't say it. 50
Yeah.
Cent said it.
So that with that being said, that leads to this whole thing of killing off Ghost. However, the reason why Ghost was never shown or in on camera death is because after the new spin-off shows started, different showrunners were getting assigned to shows. Now, Courtney was very heavily involved with book 2, but as book 3, book 4, all these other ones started getting their executive producers, their showrunners, people were still questioning Amari Hardwick coming back. They wanted Amari Hardwick back under the
Yeah.
umbrella. So he was going, they were negotiating with him for years,
Yeah.
basically. Keep
And
trying to, and it just could never ever land where they wanted it to land. The numbers that he wanted, the numbers that they were willing to give them, and then of course, at the end of the day, Courtney Kemp is obviously she is the creator of the Power Universe, so she's
mhm,
her word is it's going to definitely hold weight. So at the end of the day, they just couldn't work it out. I'm not going to say whose fault it was what, but they couldn't work it out. So therefore,
right.
what they kept doing while they were negotiating, they kept leaving these ambiguous things where, that's why everybody was theorizing that Ghost was still alive. And we're here
Still
to tell
alive.
you
And
guys
and you know,
that
and they never ever
originally he
closed
was.
the door on it.
Yep.
I
So
don't
they
care
said,
what
let's leave
nobody
the
says.
door. Yeah, let's leave the door open in case we can get him to come. There's a interview with Joseph Sikora, who plays Tommy, where they were asking him questions when Force was about to have its first season. Will we ever see Ghost and Tommy? Will he show up on Force, either flashback or whatever? And his answer to that was basically, as they always do, well, you never know. And
Yeah.
maybe I think he
That's
said
what they
something
were
like
doing.
maybe he might show up, maybe it won't be a flashback. Like he said something like to
Right.
those
And
stations
and and
basically.
let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. Courtney Kemp, because of being so petty that she was style gonna push Michael Rainey, and she knew everybody was hot that Ghost was off. She had to make Michael Rainey work. She
Yeah,
had to make Ghost work because everyone was like, "Listen, if this don't work, that she could have lost a huge audience." That's the reason why they
yeah,
kept the same song. They
yeah,
called it Ghost.
yeah,
They he the whole thing with they never showed his body, and
hmm
they kept you thinking every week, maybe this is the week Ghost will come back. Maybe this is the week
yeah,
Ghost will come back. So you
yeah.
keep tuning in. Let's just be honest. That is the main reason why everyone watched Ghost,
Yeah, that's why everyone watched
because
book
you
two.
were
Yep.
waiting for the day that Amari popped up.
Yeah.
You know it, and I know it.
Everybody knows it, and we'll leave it. We'll close it out with with this. In fact of the matter is, according to the original plans, like I said, Ghost was originally supposed to reveal his reveal to the audience that he is alive
Yeah,
in book 2, which is
yeah.
originally why they called it Ghost. So
Hmm.
uh of course Courtney came out later and said it's called Ghost because Tariq is Ghost,
Stop it.
and he's the new Ghost. And she
Yeah,
came up with a thing for it. But like I said, that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is what we deliver to you is what we know is true because we saw the scripts.
yeah. We saw it.
So
Part of it.
I mean,
We
I
saw it.
mean,
And I'll tell you, and we were like, everybody. That's why it was so funny when everybody was theorizing. We're like, man, they're right. They're so close. A lot of people had it close. Ramona was supposed to be involved. Ramona was with him, right? And That was the original plan for Ghost. So y'all have to let us know. I like the original plan. Y'all have to
Honestly,
let us
yeah,
know. Do you prefer the original plan, or did you want to? Did you like the way they kept it?
yeah,
With Tariq killing Ghost and
right.
then just moving on. So
And
y'all just have to
and
let us
and
know
and
down
and
below.
and last nugget, the Tariq killing Ghost was also a last minute decision
Yep,
because originally they were gonna have Tasha kill him,
Contra kill Ghost.
and if Tasha was supposed to, they were going with that script. Remember, they wrote multiple script endings. They were
Hmm.
gonna go with that, but then that got leaked. That one
Right,
got leaked somehow, or somehow a footage or something that got leaked. So they
got
decided
leaked.
to go with the Tariq one. And
Yep,
that's how I'm telling you. There's no way that they created the spinoffs and knowing, they, like I said, they were gonna go a whole different direction with it, thinking that it's possible that Amari could still be on board, but then they had to go another direction with it. So
yep.
that's
And
pretty
like
much
I
that,
said,
man.
you've heard. So we're letting you know now before we close. Several scripts.
Yep.
3, 4, 5 scripts sometimes.
Yeah.
And as the
Per
show,
episode.
especially with seasons, as the
Yep.
seasons go on, a lot of times they dictate, oh, we're not going to go this route. We're going to go another route. You see that all the time with movies. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just saw the other day the original script for Set It Off. The movie Set It
Yep.
Off. It didn't go like that.
Completely
The
different.
very first Set It Off script didn't even go like that. You
Completely
know what I
different.
mean? So like I said, man, the original plan is what they initially give in, and what this is the direction they're going to go. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it stays that way, and certain things change, but a lot of times the whole narrative and scene changes. So this is what the original plan for Ghost was. If y'all got anything else that we did not cover, let us know
Yep.
in the comments. Also, don't forget to check out the other original plans that we have. We
There's a
got
bunch of
more
them.
coming up. I
We got
mean,
more
spread the
coming. Yep.
word and give this video a like, a comment, thumbs up, right?
Yep.
And let us know what the original plan you want next.
There you have it. Right here. You heard it here first from the Clark brothers. Y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe, of course, to the channel. If you have not, share this video with your friends. And we'll get back at you next time. It's Clark Brothers, West, and have peace.
Peace.